The sky above the royal citadel shimmered with a pale violet glow as dawn crept over the horizon, and the alien queen rose from her chamber balcony with a thoughtful breath, watching the vast expanse of her empire unfold beneath her. Unaware that this day would shift the fate of her world forever, she had taken a human as her husband, not for romance or legend, but for diplomacy, unity, and the quiet hope that peace would hold between two species that had spent generations circling conflict like twin storms. And though the marriage was met with suspicion by her council and outright doubt by her generals, she had held firm in her decision, because she had seen something in him that defied explanation, a steadiness and courage that carried no arrogance, a strength of spirit that needed no declaration. And for many cycles she believed she understood the full extent of what he was. His name was Lion, a simple name by her standards, yet one that felt warm when spoken aloud. And each day he walked among her people with humility that baffled the court since humans, or whispered to be defiant wanderers who challenged everything they touched. But Lian proved them wrong with gentle actions and quiet determination, though he remained oddly elusive whenever discussions turned toward the past or toward the depths of human capability. As if there was something he chose not to reveal on this morning, he stood in the courtyard, hands clasped behind his back as he studied a group of palace guards training with spears and energy pikes. His posture calm yet attentive, and the queen found herself wondering once more why he always observed with such care, as if comparing their methods to some inner metric. Another early start, she said as she joined him. Her voice, soft as the breeze moved the banners above Leon, offered a faint smile and inclined his head in greeting, his eyes reflecting both warmth and a distant focus that never fully left him. "I like seeing how your warriors train," he replied. "It tells me much about your people." She tilted her head, intrigued. "And what have you learned?" "That they rely on order, discipline, and precision," he said. "Good qualities, but they assume their foes will meet them in predictable ways." The queen raised a brow. "And humans do not fight predictably." "Rarely," he answered. It was a simple exchange, nothing grand or dramatic. Yet the tone in his voice lingered in her thoughts even as the day continued and diplomatic tasks demanded her attention. But nothing prepared her for the attack that would strike just as evening approached, and the sun dipped behind the distant crystalline mountain sirens, wailed across the sky as enemy vessels ripped through the clouds. Hulking machines of forbidden alloy, piloted by a rival faction that sought to seize the crown by force. After years of simmering tension, their weapons scorching the horizon as citizens fled toward fortified shelters, and the queen raced to the command tower while her guards scrambled to defend the capital. The tower shook with the force of the first bombardment, lights flickering as the enemy fleet drew closer, and her generals shouted reports of breached districts and failing lines of defense. Chaos swelling like a wave, ready to swallow the city. Leon arrived beside her without hesitation, wearing simple travel clothing rather than armor, his face calm even as the world around them rattled with explosions. And the queen felt a rare moment of fear because she expected him to be ushered to safety, to remain sheltered as political tradition dictated. Yet he refused to leave her side. "You must go to the lower chambers," she insisted over the roar of alarms. "This is not something you can stand against." Lion looked at her with a clarity that froze her breath. "This is exactly what I must stand against." Before she could protest, he stepped forward, placing his hand gently on her arm, and there was something in his touch that radiated a warmth she had never sensed before, a pulse of energy that sent a faint tremor through the air. And for the first time she wondered whether she had truly understood the nature of humanity at all. "Leon," she whispered, "what are you?" "A human," he said, "but humans carry more than most believe." The tower doors burst open as enemy shock troopers charged inside, clad in armored suits and wielding heavy plasma rifles. and the Queen's guards moved to intercept, blades flashing as they fought to protect their sovereign. Yet the sheer number of attackers threatened to overwhelm the defense line in moments. Then, Lian Muvshi had seen him walk with quiet grace, had seen him lift crates with more strength than expected, but she had never seen him like this. Never witnessed the truth that now unfolded before her eyes. He launched forward with speed that defied natural limits, gripping the nearest attacker and throwing him across the chamber with a force that dented the metal wall. Then he spun and swept another from his feet with a strike that cracked open the soldier's armor. His movements fluid and controlled, yet powerful enough to shake the ground beneath him. The Queen stood rooted in place, astonished as the man she believed she knew fought with a mastery that dwarfed even her elite warriors. Each motion precise, efficient, devastating, and with every strike he delivered a surge of kinetic force, rippled outward like an echo of thunder. "Lian," she called, as more enemies poured into the tower. "How is this possible?" he answered between movements, his voice steady despite the chaos. Human physiology is adaptable beyond what most species record, and humans who train with purpose can achieve levels far beyond assumed limits. But more than that, my people have learned to channel the will to survive into something tangible. He lifted an attacker and slammed him against the floor, creating a shockwave that sent several others tumbling back. We are not the strongest in body or the fastest in reflex, but when humans protect something important, they become something more, something relentless. The Queen watched with amazement as he fought through the ranks of armored troopers, turning the tide of the assault with his bare hands and sheer determination. But the enemy fleet still hovered above the city, and the bombardment continued to hammer the outer districts. And she feared that even Lion's prowess could not stop an entire invasion alone. He paused only long enough to meet her eyes. "I need to reach the surface. The ships above can only be stopped from outside the tower." Her breath caught. "You cannot take down a fleet alone. You underestimate what humans become when everything they care for is at stake," he answered gently. "Stay safe. I will return." Before she could speak, he sprinted toward the balcony and leapt into the open air, falling toward the courtyard below. And she gasped in horror, only to see him land at a crouch that cracked the ground, but left him unharmed. Rising with resolve burning in his gaze as he raced toward the city streets, the Queen hurried to follow, descending through the tower until she reached an overlook that gave a clear view of the battlefield. And what she witnessed defied every expectation she had ever held about humanity. Lian ran straight into a battalion of enemy machines, towering constructs with energy cannons mounted on their shoulders. And with a single leap, he reached the nearest machine, tearing open its cockpit and disabling it with impossible precision. Then, using its fallen frame as leverage, he vaulted toward another, moving like a storm, made flesh every instinct she possessed, screamed that such feats were beyond any biological limits. Yet there he was, fighting as if born for this moment. His movements shaped by willpower, so fierce it radiated like heat through the air. The enemy fleet adjusted its formation, focusing weapons on the lone human, tearing through their ground forces, unleashing volleys of plasma that streaked toward him. But Lian reacted with uncanny awareness, weaving between blasts, redirecting energy bursts with metal fragments he seized from fallen machines, each action driven by a blend of instinct and something deeper, something primal. The Queen felt something stir in her chest, a mix of awe and understanding. For now she truly grasped the meaning behind ancient whispers of humanity's boundless potential. Stories dismissed as myth, scattered across star charts like forgotten footnotes, yet embodied now in the husband she once mistook for a quiet diplomat. Lian reached the energy pylons that powered the fleet's shield grid, gripping the core conduit and channeling all his strength into a single strike that shattered the containment ring, sending a luminous wave rippling across the sky. And as the shield collapsed, the enemy fleet faltered. Their vessels exposed and momentarily disoriented, he raised his voice, shouting with a resonance that carried across the city. Now, defenders of this world, take back your sky. Her forces surged into action, launching counter-fire that pierced the vulnerable ships. And one by one, the enemy vessels erupted into arcs of light that faded against the darkening horizon, until finally the sky grew silent, and the invasion faltered completely. The Queen descended to the courtyard as the last echoes of battle faded, her steps unsteady as she approached Leon, who stood amid the wreckage, breathing heavily, yet still strong enough to remain upright. Dust and light clinging to him like the remnants of a fading storm, she reached him slowly, eyes wide with wonder. Why did you hide this from me? Leon exhaled and looked at her with gentle sincerity. Because I wanted to live peacefully by your side, not as a weapon, not as a legend, but as your partner. And I hoped I would never need to reveal this part of me. She stepped closer, her voice quiet yet filled with emotion. You saved my people, my world, and you fought with a strength I did not believe possible. Not even in stories. Humans are strange, he said with a weary smile.